afternoon, everybody, and a huge warm welcome to you and this week's CPD Standards weekly webinar on creating a winning LinkedIn profile. It's an absolute pleasure to have so many of you dialing in from all corners of the globe. My name's Amanda Rosewarne. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the CPD Standards Office. And it's an absolute pleasure to deliver the session today with Simon West. Now, I do need to ask you one thing before we get started, and that is if you can switch off your video. We put the recording of this onto our YouTube channel, so it's more than available for you to come back to after the session. But we do need to ask you to have your videos switched off so that you're not live on YouTube for forevermore. So thank you ever so much for that. So if I can just ask for the next few videos to be turned off, that would be great. Okay, so for those, as I said, that haven't met you before, hi, good afternoon. My name's Amanda Rosewarne. The CPD Standards Office, since COVID and lockdown began, has offered absolute and unwavering support to all of our members and our subscriber community by delivering these weekly sessions on all sorts of topics to make sure that as trainers, as coaches, as educators, you continue to thrive, given the horrendous and substantial challenges that we've all faced to our businesses, but particularly to those of you that were running or may have restarted running face-to-face courses, events and seminars. So if I could just ask for a few more of you to switch off your videos, that would be really good. If you're not sure how to do it, just hover your mouse down to the left-hand corner, bottom left-hand corner, and just hit stop video. That would be really great. Thank you so much. So the CPD Standards Office was founded back in 2012. For those of you that aren't a member, we offer accreditation, research and CPD advisory services. So if you have an online course, whether that be a webinar or a standalone platform or podcast or face-to-face delivery, you can have that accredited as an official delivery piece and be able to issue formal CPD certificates points. And our accreditation is highly regarded. We are a global service now with providers in over 45 countries. And today's speaker we have known for a long time. Very delighted to welcome Simon West from Net Sales. But before I introduce the session entirely, I just wanted to run a couple of polls. So the first poll is just to see who we've got on the line with us today. And just want to understand, just launching the poll now, whether you're a member or whether you're a non-member and you're just joining us to get some information on the topic. And indeed, whether you're a new member or one that's been with us for a long time. So we've got quite a few people now on the session. And let's just have a little look. So the results are coming in. So I'll give you 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's great. Thank you. So we have a considerable number of members on the line, but also quite a few non-members. So a very warm welcome to you if you're joining us for the first time. Okay, so the second poll I'd like to run is if you're a non-member, but you are interested in our accreditation services, please let us know. One of our team will be in touch over the next week or so with some provisional information. Or if it's something that you're just thinking about and you'd like some information, but it's a kind of what if, I'm not really sure if that will work for me, then do just let us know. Okay, so again, just going to give you 5 seconds to complete this poll. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, well, that's fantastic. 30% would like to find out more. Okay, if I can just ask for a few more videos off, that would be really helpful. Okay, so on to today's session. Today's session is entitled Creating a Winning Profile on LinkedIn. This is the third session that we've run on LinkedIn. So previously we've run 2 sessions which are available on our YouTube channel, which was about creating a winning LinkedIn profile that drives traffic to your website and increases the number of prospect inquiries. Do look that up. It is a kind of sister session to the one that we're running today. But today is all about how you can position yourselves on LinkedIn as really being somebody who is a thought leader, who is an expert, and somebody who has sufficient and substantial command of your field, and you're able to start kind of influencing your network. So a couple of facts for you. There's over 30 million companies on LinkedIn, and one advert on LinkedIn with so many other users using it means that you can reach 12% of the world's population. So it is a phenomenal platform, and it's one that's very often overlooked. And sometimes if we don't know how to use LinkedIn effectively, we leave money on the table and we don't really understand how to harness all of these connections. So I'm delighted, as I said, to welcome Simon West to lead the session for us today. Simon runs a very successful business, Net Sales, on advising clients on their sales strategy and sales systems. He works alongside large and small businesses to help them achieve extraordinary sales success, and not just using old methods, but that involve sales tactics or high pressure selling, but rather to help them embody systems within their business development conversations, within their sales strategy, to ensure that they get effortless, and that's really the key word there today, effortlessly find new and ideal customers. So I'm delighted, Simon, very warm welcome to you. If I could just ask for a few more cameras to be switched off, I'd really appreciate it. And until then, thanks ever so, Simon. We're in your hands now.
Brilliant. Thanks for the introduction, the fabulous introduction, Amanda. That's really appreciated. Let me just share my screen, and we'll go through this. So we've done a couple of these sessions before where we focused on the mechanics of LinkedIn, and helping you to get your LinkedIn profile up to date, and then quite a lot about messaging and some of the tactics around there. I'm going to run through these little bits just as a reminder today. But what I really want to focus upon is how to position you as a key person of what I call a key person of influence. And there's various people who've used this sort of term. And the goal here is that if somebody is looking for help in an area, who's looking for training, is looking for coaching, then they'll do a Google search. They might do a search on LinkedIn, but they'll be looking for people who portray themselves as an expert, who talk as an expert, and who they feel that they would want to work with. So a large part of the strategy here is creating content and putting that content in front of your potential customers so that they see you as an expert. The big advantage of this sort of approach is it tends to remove price from the discussion. So people who find you and feel you're an expert tend not to worry too much about price. They're very much more focused upon what you can do for them, what value you're going to bring to them, rather than comparing you with 4 others and trying to drive the prices down. So that's a bit of the background. Let me dive straight into this now and talk about LinkedIn and how you don't have to leave money on the table when you're working in LinkedIn. So, as with everything that you do on LinkedIn, as you do anything you do in business, it's a good idea to have a plan. And so here's your plan, 4 points here. Start by optimizing your profile. And we're not going to talk too much about this today, because I've talked about it in the past. If you want to see how to optimize your profile, the 2 previous sessions that we've done on LinkedIn will take you through those, and there's a wealth of information in those. So if you go to the YouTube channel, you'll be able to find those, and I'm sure Amanda can point those out to you as well. Secondly, the plan is to reach out to your target audience. It's no good having a LinkedIn profile and only being connected to one person. That's not going to be helpful. So we'll talk about how to find your target audience and how to approach them. Then we're going to look at articles. So articles are blogs on LinkedIn. So what do we do to create a blog? What do we say in the blogs? How do we then put those blogs in front of people? And the fourth point I've put up as a question mark there is advertising. And I'm going to kill that one off now. Personally, I wouldn't bother advertising on LinkedIn. The advertising there, most people tend to filter out with ad blockers and so on. The tests that we've tried in the past have not yielded great results from advertising. So, and the reason I mention that up front is we get quite a lot of questions about advertising, whether it's a good idea. My opinion is don't bother. So the simple answer, you don't need to ask those questions. I can explain why at the end if anybody really wants to know. But personally, just stay away from the advertising and focus on the natural part of this, which is portraying yourself as a key person of influence. So I mentioned this is all about process. So if you think about any part of your journey through any engagement with a person, with a business, with any sort of sales part of your business, you start by getting to know people and they start by getting to know you. Through that process, once they know you and you know them, you then start to trust them. They start to trust you. It's a two-way relationship. Only once that trust is established will there be a buying conversation. But once that trust is established, then that buying conversation becomes a hell of a lot easier. Now, the other way of portraying this is very simple. Without trust, there is no sale. So what does that mean in LinkedIn terms? Well, let me take you through this diagram. What this is really saying is top left, there's 4 boxes here, which is the know bit. It's about finding a target audience, doing a bit in groups, researching contacts, and then connecting with relevant contacts. So that's the know bit. Over here is the building trust bit, a bit more building trust here, and the engagement is the buying bit. So let's start with the know. So your target audience. So when you come to target people on LinkedIn, what you're looking to do is to go to the advanced find, and the advanced find on LinkedIn looks like this. So here's the search criteria. You can search through a whole variety of different bits and pieces. I'm sure you've all done this. There's lots of help on Google as to how to use this search directly. But what I would say is use this search to refine your target audience. Are you bound by geography? Is it location? Is it the job role that you're particularly looking for? Is it a membership of a group that you want to select? And remember, you can select on all of these, not just one. You can use the search I showed you to put keywords in and also attributes of the person's business. So if you wind all of those bits together, your goal is to find less than 30,000 people to target. Now that sounds quite a big number, but if you remember there's 300 million LinkedIn profiles out there, it's actually a relatively small part of the LinkedIn process. And as I said, you can use all of these different categories. If you have Sales Navigator, which is about a £70 a month upgrade on your free LinkedIn profile, you get a lot more searches. So you can search things like company size and that sort of stuff. If you're serious about working on LinkedIn, I would say the best value at the moment is to go to Sales Navigator and not the premium versions of the LinkedIn profile. Lots of explanations why. If you really want to know why, put a question in the chat and we'll deal with it as we go along. Now I will pause at this point and just say, if you have got questions, please do throw them in the chat. There's a chat box at the bottom of the screen. Put the there, and I think Amanda's keeping an eye on those and will interrupt me if there's anything in particular that that is a burning question that you want to know an answer to. So we've done the know bit. We now know who we're targeting. What's next in the no trust buy process? It's trust. So in the know bit, you've done your search. You've come up with a list of 30,000 people, 5,000 people, however many thousand people it is. So what do you do at that point? Well, you start by connecting with those people. So you send them a connection request. Now, what's involved in that? Well, it's really simple. You can either hit the connect button, or you can hit the connect button and type in a message that says, I think we should connect because. There's a common question is, should I bother with that? What I would say to you is not a definitive yes or no, but is run some tests. Maybe send 10 connection requests using the standard message and send 10 with a personal message and see which gets a better response. Send another 20 based on using a standard message, another 20 with personalized messages. And again, see which get a response. The reason why you may not get a better response from a personal message is that if someone's accepting on the app, they don't always see the message. So is it worth sending it? Well, it depends if your audience is using the app or if they're using the LinkedIn user interface on the web. So there's anyway, so send your connections. Send up to about 40 connections a day. So what happens then? So this is where we're building trust. You're going to say thank you to all of those 40. So you send 40 connections. What would you get? Maybe 30% of those, 40% of those. Let's say you get 40% of those, 40% of 40 is 16. You get 16 people accepting your connection. One by one, send them a message through LinkedIn that says thank you. Thank you for connecting. Have a look at their profile, mention something about their profile, and 2 lines on what you do, and suggest you might want to engage further. That's it. Send the message and then move on. Send those 16 messages. Over time, what you're going to do is you're going to get into the habit of sending those messages, and then as you build a set of people who are connected with you, you can then share content with those people. Again, one by one, open up a message window and send a message to somebody sharing interesting content. So if you're a coach and you're targeting leaders of, I don't know, small businesses who are in the manufacturing sector, maybe you want to share information that's relevant to leadership of manufacturing businesses in the UK, for example. So you can find some information on the web, you can create some information yourself, and take a link and send a message to the person, hi, thinking of you today, saw this content and I'd like to share it with you. I thought it might be useful. And that is what trust is all about. What you're doing is you're putting stuff out there for them to realize that you're a genuine person, knows stuff about their industry, who is credible, and they can then begin to see you as a credible expert. It means that they're more likely to consume your resources and more likely to think of you when they've got a requirement, because then they're going to reply to you. So this brings us on to the next part of the process, which is buying. So you've been sharing content with people, you've been thanking them. Somebody replies to you to say, thanks, that's really good. That's really useful, or whatever they respond with. They respond with something. However they respond, reply to them. Reply to them, build that connection, ask them a question. At some point, they're going to say, how would we? How much is it? How can we? All those sorts of questions. Brilliant, you're into buying. You've now got that person out of LinkedIn into your sales funnel. Your objective now is to get them on the phone, talk to them, and to arrange to do business with them. Congratulations, you've got your first sale from LinkedIn. So that's the process. Summarize that for you. So every day, and in this order, reply to every message. So as I said, you ask questions, don't sell, and then you've got your thank you messages. That's the next step. The next step is the 40 new connection requests that you're going to send that day. And then, as I said at the end, the end point is to send 50 new messages to engage connections. And this is where you share your knowledge. Now, what you can also do when you're sharing your knowledge is you can share your articles. So I mentioned about being an influential person on LinkedIn. there's an area in LinkedIn called articles. It's called the article area, the blog area. The current name is articles, they change it around a bit. If you create articles in this area, you can then link to those articles and message people and say, I've written this on LinkedIn, I love your feedback. I'd love your comments on this, please. Now that has two advantages. Firstly, it keeps it on the LinkedIn platform, and LinkedIn likes that, so they're more likely to promote your content to a wider audience. And the second advantage is it's very easy for somebody from your message to go to the article and then to reply and to comment. So it keeps it all in one place, and it does mean that that person is only one click away from the profile. So it's more likely to click on your profile because they've had to log in to view the article, and then to click through to you and perhaps message you back. So if you create articles on LinkedIn, and I'll show you in a second what an article looks like, then you can link them in your messages and you can move on from there. So what to say? Well, let's have a look at a couple of examples. So the message on the left, the one that starts "Hello, Paul." This is a message that I send to people where I explain what we do, and I'm asking if they'll help me with research into the best methods that work for them on LinkedIn, and asking if we can connect. So that's an example of a personalized message that you could send to somebody. The message on the right is a thank you message. So this is the sort of thing that you can send. You see the second paragraph is seeking to find commonality with the person. So what you're trying to do here is say, hey, we're all in the same boat together. We've got these things in common, because then they're going to carry on and they're going to see the commonality between you. You build the relationship, which is aiming towards this trust area. You're adding value to the relationship. They're more likely to trust you. They're more likely to see you as a person of influence. And at the end of the day, more likely to buy from you and actually have a very good relationship with you. So those are of one sort of message. This is another example of just sharing other interesting content. I mean, you can read this at your own time. This is obviously recorded. So these are other messages. Now, that's an example of a message that you can send regularly. This sort of thing is something you can send to people about long-term type stuff. So this is you've not had a contact with people for three or 6 months. You can send this sort of where's the time gone? How are you doing? This is what I'm up to. I'd love to talk to you more. So these are what we call re-engagement or engagement messages that just try and keep you in that person's mind. So that's all the messaging you can do. I said I'd come on and talk about the articles you can send to people. So what sort of articles are there that you can write in LinkedIn? In fact, I'm going to go straight into the next slide. This is what an article looks like on LinkedIn. So an image at the top, a title, and then some text. And the text is rich text, so you can make it whatever you want. So that's what articles look like. But what sort of articles to write? Well, there's two sorts here. One that shows you're an expert. So what shows you're an expert? Well, stuff that you've done, other stuff that people have said about you, and things that you think portray your business in a good light. So what sort of things are those? Well, you could share 10 top tips. You could say, here's some tips on, in my case, it might be growing your business. The 5 things to never say on LinkedIn. In fact, it's probably quite a good article for me to write. The 2 things that are the top, or the top 2 things to say when communicating with somebody. All those sorts of things. So hints and tips that you've picked up that that you think would be useful to your audience. So those sorts of things show that you are an expert. Now, I do hear a lot of people say, and apologize, there's a dog barking in the background going along the road. I do hear a lot of people say, don't share your best stuff, hold it back for later. Wait till they're paying. I take a completely different view on this, and more than happy to hear other people's view. But my view on this is to share your best stuff up front. Give away the whole show. Give away everything. Tell them your secrets. Why? Well, if they don't buy from you, they're never going to get to hear the secrets anyway. And they're far more likely to buy from you, far more likely to engage with you if you've shown them just how good you really are by showing them the inside story. Trust me, if you give them the knowledge they need, they will come back to you to help you use it. They won't take your knowledge to somebody else and say, how do I do this? One or two might, but then they were going to do that anyway, so they won't become a customer. The vast majority of people, if you share your best stuff with them, really, really will genuinely want to deal with you because they believe in you, because you've proven that you're an expert. So always share your best stuff. Don't hold it back. Don't put it behind a paywall. I know the Telegraph do. I know the FT do, but they're working to a very, very different business model. Content is the only thing they've got to sell. If you're delivering a training or a coaching service, then the content that you've got is not your service. It's your delivery, it's your service. So you can afford to give away some of that content in advance. I'm not saying give the training away for free, but to show you're an expert, give away some of your best secrets. So we looked at the articles. By the way, the format of these is pretty much subscribed by LinkedIn: an image, a title, and lots of text. It's up to you what you do with your image. Depending upon how I feel, I will either put a businessy type image, the one on the right, or a more an image that's designed to capture people's attention. People like scenery, and by the way, they like symmetric images. Notice the symmetry of this. The person in there, the angle of the waves going out towards the person, the angle of the mountains coming down to this point, and so on. People really like symmetrical images. So if you can find something that's got symmetry in it, then that's a really nice one. But be very careful. Always make sure you have permission to use the image that you have got, that you're planning on using. Do not ever copy it from another site or anything, because you are laying yourself open to problems by doing that. So please make sure you have permission to use your images. So what sort of strategies can you use for articles? So you can send your article with a précis to your network. So you can send the link, the URL, say, I'd love you to have a look at this article, and then write a quick précis. So this article talks about the experiences I've gained from working with small business owners in the manufacturing sector. The 5 things that I found that they do the same, that work for them, and the 10 things that are an absolute no-no for them. Send that as an individual one-to-one message to as many people in the network as you can, 50 people at a time, and invite them to comment. Get them to comment. The more comments it gets, the higher up the rankings it gets, the more likely other people in LinkedIn are likely to see it. You can also use it outside LinkedIn. So you can send that link to people outside of LinkedIn. Most people have a LinkedIn profile. A lot of people, if you click on a link in LinkedIn, it will log them straight in and they'll be able to see your article. So you can actually use this as an alternative to your website. The other advantage of putting this on LinkedIn, obviously, is that LinkedIn have got a very strong SEO strategy. And so if you have good content on LinkedIn, then you can use this to your advantage, and you'll get people finding your articles outside of LinkedIn on Google and then clicking through to read your articles. So you can use your articles outside LinkedIn, and other people will use them to view your content outside of LinkedIn. You can also comment on others' articles. So if you see an article that's talking about staying with the manufacturing example, staying with that, you can say, okay, so here's knowledge about manufacturing. Great. What I'd like to say about it is I think that whilst these 7 points are really valid, there's 2 other points that should also be made. I make them in this article here and put the link to the article. That's entirely permissible. And what that does is that opens up that article, not just to people in your network and people you can message, but anybody else who looks at or sees that, that article will see your link, and you're then associated with that other article as well, which is a very positive thing to do. Now, this final strategy is a really interesting one. And this is a bit of gamification on LinkedIn. And I don't know if anybody's heard about post parties. They are gaining a bit of traction at the moment. And this is where a group of people come together and say, right, we're all going to post an article on LinkedIn. And once we've posted it, and this needs to be about 10 people plus, 30 is an ideal number. Once we've all posted it, we're going to post into a group chat in the middle, the link to our article, and we're all then going to pick up each other's articles and we're going to go and comment on each other's articles. Now, what's turned out, what happens here is that LinkedIn will see the flurry of activity associated with these articles. And if each gets more than something like 20 comments and likes in a very short period of time, LinkedIn will take these articles and will put them into their big hopper of highly rated content, because it's got lots of comments, therefore it must be highly rated. And by putting it into this hopper of highly rated content, it gets displayed to many, many hundreds of thousands of people around the world on a regular basis. So it comes into the top of their feed, because this is material that is deemed to be interesting and useful. So you can join a post party, message me after my details at the end. I can give you details of how to do that. Or if you wish to, you could form your own post party amongst other people. So there's all sorts of different ways of doing this, but article strategies work extremely well in LinkedIn. And bear in mind, what you're doing is you're building for the future. Don't just build one article and promote it. Have a strategy of building, say, an article a month. Write an article a month, but really put some effort into it. Put in some good content into this, and push it out there, and then regularly utilize it. So hopefully that makes sense on articles. Just as a reminder, do please carry on putting stuff in the comments. I've probably only got about another 5 or 10 minutes of stuff, and then we'll go straight into those comments and see if we can answer as many as we possibly can. So, your daily challenge, if you spend 90 minutes every day working on LinkedIn. 90 minutes sounds like quite a lot, doesn't it? Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. If I told you that if you dedicated 90 minutes of every day to LinkedIn, that you could get in a week 80 new connections, you could maybe start 20 good conversations, and end up with 3 new leads. Maybe 90 minutes a day doesn't feel like such an onerous thing to do. So that's my challenge to you, is to spend 90 minutes a day doing exactly the process I described up front. Now, I do have a cheat sheet that helps you through this process, and it's a simple PDF which I'm very happy to share with anybody who wants it. If you email me at my email address, which is on the screen there, simon@netsales.com, I'll happily send you a copy of the PDF. And I think we're going to follow this up with notes and stuff anyway, so we can attach that PDF on how to run this process. So that's the end of that's the end of what I've got to say. What I'd like to do is, I can see there's 59 comments, and let's see if we can address some of those. I don't know if Amanda's got a particular order to address those in.
Yes, I have. Can you hear and see me? I've turned my microphone and my video back on. Thank you, Simon. That was a really interesting session. And I've tried to capture as many questions as I can and noted them down, and I've tried to group them as well.
Oh, brilliant.
So just thinking about articles for a minute.
Yes.
So the first question we've had in is, why articles as opposed to posts? And roughly how long should an article be in terms of words?
Oh, good question. Okay, so why articles rather than posts to start with? If you think about posts as being a bit like Twitter, or status updates on Facebook, and if you think about articles being like a blog on your website, that's the difference between the two. So updates and posts are quite transitory. They're quite short term. They don't allow you to share a detailed point of view. What you can do is you can create an article, and then you can regularly reference that article in your updates, and say, done this article, it talks about these points, take a look in your updates. And you can do that quite regularly if you wish to. So that's what I'd say. So think of your article as the big stone, that thing you hang around it, and then the little pebbles that sit around it are the regular updates that you push out.
Okay. And length, Simon, how long should an article be?
It depends how good it is. If you've got 100 words, if you can capture a business idea that is really, really compelling in 100 words, then 100 words. I would say about 500 words is a really good article length, something like that. Yeah. And anything between 200 to 500 words, but much beyond 500, you probably want to break that into 2 articles.
Okay, so about one side of A4 then, roughly.
Yeah, yes,
depending
absolutely.
on your font size. Okay.
Yes, about 5 minutes read. About 5 minutes read, I'd say.
Somebody said, where exactly is the articles area? Is it in one's profile? But I assume that's a kind of, that answer is just that you're creating your articles on a different platform, and like your website and linking to it. Is that right? There's not a specific articles area.
No, there is an articles area.
Oh, there is. I
apologize.
I apologize.
No problem at all. Let's see if I can do this easily. Let's go to LinkedIn. This is where the whole thing can go horribly wrong, but let me just share. That. Okay, so I just shared my LinkedIn profile. Hopefully there's nothing too contentious on there, and there never normally is. So this is LinkedIn. Now, if I look at my profile for a second, what I've done is, I've not done these recently, but I have written a number of articles, and this is my view of it. But here's the article I was looking at earlier. So if I click on this, so this is the area in LinkedIn where you can have articles, and you can see, you can put images and stuff in there, written by me. Various people have reacted, different people have commented, and so on it. But in terms of creating that, they keep changing it. I'm pretty sure that, oh, sorry, they've moved it again. Okay, give me 2 secs, and never do a live demo.
Okay.
It's sorry, it's in there somewhere. Here we go. Sorry, posts and activity. So you see, they call them posts and activity, and then if you click on post and activity, you can see all your activity, articles, posts, documents. If you click on articles, there's all my articles, and then there's a create new button, and you can go through that.
Okay, whereabouts is the create new, Simon? Where's the create new button? Or am I really putting you on the spot here?
No, I've just had a look on my website, on my LinkedIn page, and it's on the very, if you click into your own profile, at the top it says start post, and underneath that it's got 4 options, including one with a green icon which says write article.
Ah, there we go. There's the answer. Thank you so much.
And if you want me to share my screen, I can, if you like.
That's fine. There we go. There we go. Sorry, I was in editing mode, so you couldn't see it. So start a post. There.
And you've got write article just down to the right beneath that.
Yes. So there's a post.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Simon. Okay.
Sorry, that was me being dumb.
No worries. Okay, so next question. Somebody says, well, I've got a question about LinkedIn article. I've written loads of them over the past 12 months, but I was put off because they're almost impossible to find on LinkedIn for anybody outside my network, and a search on LinkedIn doesn't return them. Also, they almost seem to be invisible on search engines. Am I doing something wrong?
The more, I know this sounds counterintuitive, but the more comments and engagement you get on the article, the more it tends to become visible. So you're not doing anything wrong. You've created the articles, but what I would say is to come back to what I was saying in the process. And when you're messaging out on LinkedIn, then let me go back and come back to my share of my slides. So what I was saying here was in terms of the, oops, sorry, I went first. The 50 new messages every day, that's your opportunity to push those articles out to your network. So LinkedIn doesn't do a great job, correct, of pushing those out natively, but you can push those articles out to your network. And the post parties is another great way. Get a bunch of people together over a very short period of time, comment on each other's articles, and that will then push them up the recognition ladder within LinkedIn.
Okay, we had a couple of questions about post parties. So first of all, how do you organise one? And a little bit more information about how do they work?
Okay, the simple answer is, how do you organise one? Well, you just do. A bunch of people, I mean, we could organise one as a result of this call, if you like, and see how it goes. What we do is we agree a time and a date. Let's say we agree next Tuesday at midday. We'll all be on LinkedIn and all available. We'll have a shared space somewhere, whether it's on a Google Doc or whatever. Everybody will have created an article, and we'll post the article into that Google Doc. And then you'll then go to everybody else's articles and you'll comment on their articles. If you like it, you can like it. If you don't like it, you can disagree with it. You can comment on other people's comments and so on. And it really is as simple as that. So yes, I mean, if there is enough interest there, then between us, we can pull together a post party and give it a go and see what happens.
Yeah, that would be a great idea. That's certainly something we'd be happy to facilitate. We'll capture that in the follow-up, but I think that's a really good idea. It'd be interesting to experiment with it. Okay, and we've certainly got a large group on here today. Okay, so next question. What should come first, blog post or article, on the assumption that you want to share between your website and profile?
So I'm assuming they mean blog post offer outside of LinkedIn.
Doesn't say, unfortunately.
Okay, so in my mind, a blog post is LinkedIn's term for an article. So okay, let's answer 2 or 3 different questions here. Should you post the same content in LinkedIn as on your blog? No, that's probably not a good idea, because there's all sorts of algorithms in the web looking for duplicate content, and those tend to mark you down. So don't post the same content. So I would say post in LinkedIn stuff that is specific to your objective target audience. And come back to the start of the presentation, I said, get in mind who your target audience is. Not everybody who might buy from you, but the best target audience you could have. And I was using the example of small to medium-sized manufacturing businesses in the UK earlier. So if your focus on LinkedIn is small to medium-sized manufacturing companies in the UK, then structure your content to those people, connect with those people, talk about those people, share content about those people, make everything contingent to become an expert in that area.
We did actually have a question on that as well, Simon, could you clarify again how to do a detailed search for a target audience?
Of course. So let's go. So this is the search screen. I think it's changed a little bit recently and there are other options, but this is the standard search screen that you can see on LinkedIn. So to take you through this, you can select first, second or third degree connections. There's no point in selecting first degree connections because you're already connected with those. So what we're trying to do here is we're selecting second and third. So if you hit second and third, and then if you select locations, you can type in either a country or a region, and most towns in the UK you can find here. Or if you just want the UK, or you can see there are other areas here. But you know, if, for example, you wanted to focus upon everybody in London, just take London. You can specify companies, past companies, and you can specify in industries. And there's a couple of other capabilities. LinkedIn keep changing the advanced find. And so what's available today will be different from last week and will be different to next week. So I would say focus on things like industries here. So put in the industry you want to focus upon, the location, and then there's a keyword field as well. So you can see this is the keyword field here. And you can see I've used not consult, not advisor, not, and so on. So you can use what's called Boolean search if you really want to. You don't have to. You could just put SME, manufacturing, UK in there if you wish to. And that will give you the basis of a search. And then you hit the apply button. That gives you a list of people and it tells you how many. And again, my recommendation is to get to 10, 20, 30,000 if you can.
Okay, Simon, that's helpful. One question we've had in, and there's quite a few flowing in at the moment, so bear with me, everybody, I'm just trying to capture them all, is how do you go beyond the 30,000 contact limit? Someone's maxed out.
Congratulations. Why would you want to, is my question to you. What have all of those 30,000 become customers? Are they all in your target audience? Are they the ideal people for you to deal with? People tend to view having a large connected network as being a benefit. It can be, but it can also be a bit of an albatross around your neck because it doesn't allow you to easily find the people you most want to talk to in your network. So if you've 1,000, congratulations. To my knowledge, if you have genuinely hit that limit and LinkedIn have said, I'm sorry, you can't go any further, there is nothing you can do to add more people to your profile. In terms of what you could do about that, I would say start going through those 30,000, find the people you don't want to be connected with anymore and disconnect with them and go and find other people you most want to connect with.
Do a spring clean, you mean?
Yeah, do a spring clean. But if you don't want to do that, I would say focus on your connections in here on your first degree connections and find subsets of 100 people, 1,000 people in there, those sorts of volumes whom you could target specific messages at. Because if you're already connected with 30,000 people, then you're very well connected there. And you probably don't need more than that. And you just need to, you need to get your blog articles and so on in front of those 30,000. And I think you can work out exactly how long it's going to take you to message all 30,000 of those. So maybe you don't want any more. Maybe that's maybe a better question is what can I do to take better advantage of those people?
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so a couple of people have asked questions about videos. So what about videos as opposed to articles? One person's mentioned that videos for them seem to be working quite well on LinkedIn at the moment, and they've got 3 times more engagement on a video rather than a post. So what's your view on using videos?
Yeah, there's a couple of good, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this earlier. Yes to video. Yes to video in two different ways. Posting an external video into posts. So we looked at where posts were when I eventually found them. And yes, you can, but the big advantage of putting a video in a post is that when somebody scrolls through their feed, so looking at other people's posts, the video will start playing. It never used to play, but it will auto play now in the same way as it does on Facebook. So it's something moving on the screen captures people's eyes. So video will get a greater engagement than static content and static imagery. So yes to video. Yes to video in two ways. One, if you've got professionally produced stuff that looks really good, great, use it. But equally, if you've got raw content that delivers a hard-hitting message that's less than 30 seconds long, so a thought for the day that is really well thought out, that's well presented, but that isn't well, that doesn't have to be well produced, that can be shot on an iPhone, sat at home, that sort of thing. Those are the two sorts of content that I would say work best on LinkedIn. In fact, work best anywhere.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Okay.
Actually, sorry, Amanda. I was going to add. You can also include video into your articles, but it has less impact there.
Okay. What about videos that are on YouTube, Simon?
Yes, you can embed video. You tend to embed a video. You wouldn't necessarily upload the video. You can embed a video from YouTube or from Vimeo or any of the other platforms. Right.
Okay. Okay. So just a question about photos when we talked about images. Somebody has said, could you use your own photos, or does that look too unprofessional? I remember that we did discuss this on the first YouTube, LinkedIn session on that's on our YouTube channel, which I shared the link to earlier, and I can certainly do again. But what's your view of unprofessional or personal photos, as it were?
I've actually taken some photos on an iPhone or on a Samsung phone that I've been very pleased with. I've blown up to 2 foot by 3 foot and put on the wall. So it's not so much, and you know, I do have a sideline in photography here that I've not let on to. So yes to photos that you've taken, if they're good photos. Have you taken a great photo on your iPhone, or is it a snap with 3 other people in it, and is it and it looks a bit out of focus? Or have you taken it with a high-end digital SLR camera, and it's shot with a professional lens and it looks great? So it's not so much is it your photo or is it somebody else's. The question is it a good photo? Is it one that portrays your business as a professional business? For example, if I just switch back to that LinkedIn page I had a minute ago, it says bravely clicking all over the place. So just coming back to my profile for a second. So this image at the top here, for example, is an image. You can
still see your slides, Simon.
Oh, I'm sorry. So this image at the top here, which you can hopefully see now, is an image I took. So that to me feels perfectly acceptable. But if you haven't got a great image, and you can go through LinkedIn and you can just scroll down. I mean, as I said, I really like this image. But if we looked at if we look at this, then there are some good and some bad things. I mean, that's a fabulous image there, and some you can decide this looks more like a stock image. And that's a video that kicks off. There's good and bad stuff. I would think very, very carefully about the quality of the image and does it portray your business accurately or not? And you can see just scrolling through the answer in terms of video.
Okay, so I'm conscious of time. We're going to wrap up in about 5 minutes. So I've got one comment and 2 other questions for you. So there's been a bit of discussion in the chat about whether post parties violate LinkedIn rules. And apparently there's quite a lot of discussion online that the LinkedIn algorithm is now tuned to post parties and could penalise people. So what are your thoughts on that, given we've discussed it today?
It's entirely possible. LinkedIn, I know, runs some very, very clever AI tools, and they are looking for trends. They're looking for things that they might deem as inappropriate. I can 100% tell you that agreeing to comment on somebody else's article is not against LinkedIn terms of service. I cannot conceive how commenting on somebody else's article is against their terms of service. And collaborating to do so, well, I know it might be something they don't want to happen, but it's certainly not against their terms of service. And people described it as illegal, various things. It's not illegal. This is purely what an organization called LinkedIn deem appropriate or otherwise.
Okay, thank you.
So my comment is, it might be a good idea, it might not. You'd have to test to find out. But there are people doing this, and it's entirely possible that you missed the boat on this. And maybe a long-term strategy of sharing content with each other and commenting over a longer period of time is a better bet. So I don't know.
Okay. All right, so 2 final questions. One is on groups, about best practice for LinkedIn groups, how to start one and how to promote one. And the other one is on Sales Navigator. Is it still a subscription service? And what's the difference between Sales Navigator and Premium? So 2 very different questions there, one on LinkedIn groups and one on Navigator versus Premium. Okay,
groups first. Groups is something that has never really worked very well for LinkedIn. For some reason, the vast majority haven't. I mean, the exception actually is Amanda's group has worked quite well, funnily enough. But there aren't many groups on LinkedIn that have got anything in terms of traction, content, discussion, or anything. So I wouldn't worry too much about setting up and promoting a group right now. The only use of groups that I've found to be particularly powerful is when you're filtering, because you can filter. If you see a group that talks about coming back to our manufacturing small business company, talks about growth strategies for small businesses in the manufacturing sector, then the members of that, by definition, would be a really good target audience for you if that's who you're targeting. And part of your search criteria, you can specify that they're a member of a particular group or groups. So I'd use groups as a search criteria rather than as a way of promoting yourself. Sales Navigator versus Premium. You need to look at the features of both to figure out which is best for you. If it's a price discussion, then Premium is somewhere between £35 and £65 a month. And Sales Navigator, depending upon how you buy it, is somewhere between £60 and £78 a month, something like that. I tend to work in dollars because of the way we work, so that might not translate precisely into pounds, but it's that sort of order of magnitude. The advantage of Sales Navigator is set up to allow you to find audiences, and it uses a different user interface. It doesn't use the LinkedIn user interface, it uses the Sales Navigator interface. And it's better at navigating through people, finding people, and interacting with them. The search criteria in Sales Navigator is better, and it allows you to do a couple of other things in terms of messaging people that you can't do so easily through the LinkedIn user interface. So the LinkedIn Premium in many ways is something that, in my mind, doesn't give much over the standard profile. What the LinkedIn standard does is, if you're on a budget, it allows you to carry on searching when you reach your commercial use limit on the free profile, which you'll do very quickly if you're using this daily. So if you use this daily, you'll need to pay something.
Yeah.
That's not 100% answer, but my own view is just go with Sales Navigator. But you know, if it's a budget thing, then premium will get you some with the way.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, thank you so much, Simon, for all of your insights today. We've had some great feedback on the chat with lots of people finding it very useful and insightful, and indeed a very concise presentation as well. Quite a few people have commented, so thank you for that. Thank you to everybody for dialing in, for staying with us for the past hour. As I said, it's a great pleasure to spend this time with you every Thursday and share our thoughts and expertise throughout our network. So stay well and stay safe, everybody. Once again, huge thank you to Simon, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next Thursday at 2 o'clock. Okay, take care now. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.